Good morning. For all of those of you who had an opportunity to get away on this Labor Day weekend, you missed your chance. So now you have to sit here through a few moments and listen up. What a joy to be here. What a great joy to see the young people on the stage all the time. Always such a wonderful thing. And Mike Nunn family, when you guys take off, we're going to certainly miss you guys because you're always involved in stuff. Larry, Larry, why aren't you preaching today? What's the deal here? Yeah. All right. A little something on perspective here if I click slides right. All right. In this picture, I don't know how well you guys can see the thing, but there's a sign up in the corner. It says dead end. It doesn't mean much. We've seen a lot of those signs around. You know, you go drive around the neighborhood, sometimes it says no turnaround. But dead end is kind of a common sign. And so as you look at that, it doesn't read very much, but you look a little closer, and on top of that, dead end, there's the name of the street is New Hope. So you're reading that, and it's kind of a funny, I think, and so I look at it a little bit closer, and now, what does that tell you? The other side of this thing is, at the end of that street is a cemetery. Now, my mother's buried there, so this was in Florida. When we were back in Florida, my mother and father were buried there, so we always drop by and respect them. So we were sitting out in front. I was fooling around with a phone or something. I happened to look up, and I saw that. I said, wow, dead end, cemetery at the end, New Hope Road, and a cremation place across. Kind of interesting signs you see. So I look for those now and then. I see really funny ones. I saw a funny one up at Mercy the other night. It had a sign that says, drop off the patients at the emergency room. We took our neighbor to the emergency room and had a big sign, drop off patients here. Well, right above that, just above the sign, there's a sign on the wall that says, do not exceed 17,000 pounds. So it's amazing what you end up seeing. All right, Christ spent a lot of time talking in parables, speaking things that would help people to understand points that he had to give. And this morning, sermon's going to be basically a story. And so, bear with me on this. Emily Strauss woke up in a severe pain. She was laying flat on her back. She was in a strange place. Didn't have any idea where she was at first. She was confused, very uncomfortable. She looked around. She couldn't really tell at first. Her eyes were hard to see out of because she'd just come out of a coma. And so she went to raise her right arm to kind of brush her eyes, and she noticed an extra weight in the right arm, and she looks down, she sees a cast on her right arm, elbow to the palm. She's still confused, doesn't know where this came from, still not sure where she is. So she raises the right arm, goes to raise the right arm to wipe her eyes. She notices bruising, severe bruising, and an IV in her right arm. She starts looking around a bit, still trying to figure out where she is, and she sees some familiar things. And in a few moments, she recognizes the outlay of an emergency room. She doesn't know how she got here, why she's here. And so she's trying to figure these things out, and she reaches up with the right hand and touches her face again, and it's sore, and she feels what feels like some swelling. So she wants to look in the mirror to see what her face looks like. So there's a little table next to the bed, and she reaches over to try to get her purse, and she notices sharp pains from her back. Extremely difficult to move. So about that time, a nurse passes by, and she recognized her from short distance. Her name is Barbara. Not this Barbara. But her name is Barbara. She says, Barbara, is that you? Barbara says, yes. How can I help you? She said, I need to check in my purse. I have a mirror there. I want to look at the mirror. Barbara says, okay. So she goes over and gets the purse and hands her the mirror. When Emily looks into the mirror, the tears that were in her eyes turn to rivulets. She realized that she has been battered. She's been beaten brutally. And she says to Barbara, where am I? I'm in the emergency room, right? Barbara said yes. She says, Barbara, what happened to me? Was I in a car accident? Barbara says, no. Billy came home again. A few minutes later, police officers came into the room. They said, do you remember who did this to you? She says, no. And he said, well, I have a suspect, and we'd like to bring him just for a moment before we take him to jail. We're pretty sure because when the ambulance was called to your place, they saw this guy leaving. So she said, I don't know if I can recognize him at this point. She said, they said, well, please try, just to be a moment. So they brought him to the window next to where she was. Young man, about 6 feet tall, middle build, long shaggy beard. She looked at him, said, I can't tell, because he was staring down. She said, would you have him raise his head? So he raised his head just for a moment. And she said, dear God, that's Billy, my son. He is the one who did this to me. So they took Billy off. A week and a half later, they were going to have an arraignment for Billy. She was still in the hospital, not able to get up. She was still in physical therapy. She was going through a lot of things, not recovering real well. And so she said, I need to be at that arraignment. Her doctor said, no way, you're not going. You're not ready to check out of this hospital yet. So she ends up checking out AMA. She was determined to go. She shows up at Billy's arraignment. The court is in session. Billy's sitting up front with his attorney. The prosecution's on the other side. They're just starting the proceedings. She opens the back door. She has a walker. She can barely walk, even with a walker. So the officer standing at the back door gives some help opening, and she bangs the walker against the door. She's coming in. It gets everybody's attention. It makes some noise, and so they start to look around. And the court proceedings stop, and the judge waits for a moment to see what's going to happen. So Emily walks down the hall, down the aisleway. She comes down, and Billy and his attorney is seated over here. And she sits down right behind him, and she says to the judge, I apologize, Your Honor. I felt I needed to be here for Billy. He said, well, ma'am, usually in these proceedings, testimony is not taken very much. We just decide how we're going to prosecute, how we're going to proceed with the crime. So it's not the right time for you to make any comment that you would like to make. And she said, Your Honor, I appreciate that very much, but I'm going to have surgery. I left the hospital without approval, and I have to go back after I spend this time here. I'm going to have some further surgery on my back. I'm not sure if I'll be out for his trial. Could you let me at least say a couple things? He said, again, ma'am, that is not something you generally do at this time, but considering the circumstances, I'll let you speak. What would you like to say to the court? She said, I need to speak about Billy. My husband and I had two children who passed away in infancy. And we decided that we wanted another child, but we didn't want to go through the baby stage again. So we decided that we wanted to adopt. We started looking throughout the agencies. We signed up, tried to figure out where we could adopt a child that we could help raise. And we went from place to place for several weeks. We didn't find any child that really was the one. Every one of them was beautiful. Every child we wanted to take home. But that one special one didn't quite seem to be there. And we were praying about it, thinking about it, and this little young man came to our mind. His name was Billy. He was at the first orphanage when we walked in, and he sat over in a corner, quiet, small in stature at the time, stared at the ground. All the other kids came around to us, excited to see us, hoping that they would be the ones that would be adopted, possibility. Because anytime someone comes in with a possibility of adoption, the children know that they may have a chance. But Billy didn't respond. Billy wasn't involved. She said, I walked over and tried to make conversation with Billy. And Billy still didn't even look up. So I asked the counselor, I said, what's the issue with Billy? What's the matter? I don't understand. I can't even get him to talk to me. She said, Billy has been here since he was 1 year old. He was born to a drug mother. She gave him up, and he's had brain damage. He has not been able to function well. He's been on medication. He goes into violent episodes, and sometimes we've been attacked quite well. Some pretty good injuries have gone down. And she said, Billy will have this problem the rest of his life. And because of that, people are just not interested in taking this into their home. You don't want Billy. You do not want this child. So, my husband and I prayed about this, and we decided Billy needs a chance. So we went back, adopted Billy. Family and friends, don't do this. Everyone said, don't do this. Do not do this. But we went ahead because we felt led to do that. So we took Billy into our home. We offered him everything we could. We talked with the counselors and researched, did everything we could to give Billy a good life. And it worked out well. It was going really well. He took to my husband. They were just getting along fine. Billy was in school. He was making good grades. Things were just, we thought, surely this is the Lord's leading. We have made the right decision. At 15 years of age, Billy's father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. 2 days before Billy's 16th birthday, my husband passed away. Billy changed. That was too much for him to handle. He got involved in drugs. Totally different child. I tried to put up with him as much as I could. Lived in a home. He would get somewhat violent. Nothing really bad, but the neighbors would call the police and get things calmed down. Finally, one night, Billy didn't show up for home. I don't know what happened to Billy. I couldn't find him. I called the police. I put out flyers. I got on the internet. I did everything I could to find Billy. I couldn't find Billy. Had no idea what happened to him. I've searched for him every day until he came home a week and a half ago. Billy came home in a drug-induced rage looking for money to buy some more. When I didn't offer Billy the money, when I couldn't provide the money and wouldn't provide it for him, he attacked me. I thought it was the last time I would see anything. But Your Honor, I love Billy. My husband and I devoted our lives to Billy. And even with what he has done, I forgive him. And Your Honor, I know that I have no control of what will happen in this process, except I ask for mercy. I ask for mercy. The judge looked at her and said, "Ma'am, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but you're a fool. How could you ask for mercy when this guy almost killed you? How could you do this? How could you feel that way?" She said, "Love makes the difference. Love makes the difference." And Billy leaned over and whispered, "Mom, forgive me. I'll make it up to you." His mom said, "Billy, grace is what you're getting. You can't buy that. You can't make it up. It's through love." Over 2,000 years ago, a guy from heaven came down to this earth to walk the streets. And his people rejected him and ultimately killed him. And yet through love, he still offers that opportunity to every one of you. Love conquers. Love forgives. And the relationship with Jesus Christ doesn't come through osmosis. It doesn't come through somebody else's relationship. It doesn't come through reading something. It comes through a personal relationship with Him. And when you were lost, when you disappeared in a lost world, He sought you out. He didn't give up on you. God tried several times to take care of sin. He destroyed the world in time of Noah, repugnant, trying to eradicate sin, trying to rid that from the face of the earth. But it didn't happen. So finally, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And my message to you today, short and to the point, how can we escape if we neglect so great a salvation? Thank you.